remix on that song. And it's called Optimistic, so definitely check that out. It is a remake of another song. I think it was Sound of Blackness that did that originally, if I'm not mistaken, if I know my music correctly. And the original just used to get me hyped all the time. That was like the only type of inspirational gospel music we was allowed to listen to that was still secular, Sounds of Blackness. But yeah, they done a little remake on that, and that's been my little vibe recently. So let me know if you can hear everything. Let me know if everything's cool. I know I've got some new little visuals going on here. I'm just trying to change up the vibe in line with these energies that I'm feeling right now. Literally the day that the Jupiter and Pluto conjunction happened, which was on the 12th, I believe. I'm telling you, I felt really awake. I feel like an energy's come back that I've been missing. And I'm going through another level of my own personal awakening and my own personal initiations. Those of you that are going through your Saturn return, we're coming out the other end of that. And thank fuck for that, I can't even lie. That was a very intense, rocky roller coaster that I don't look forward to for another, 28 years. It taught me what it needed to teach me, but I'm ready to move forward now. So yeah, we're in that time. So I want to talk about the transits for this season right now. And we've got the new moon in Scorpio that will be taking place tomorrow, I believe. And I should have actually brought my almanac over. Where are you? Sure you were over there. I should have brought that over. But we have the new moon in Scorpio that will be taking place on the 15th of November. And it'll be taking place at 23 degrees of Scorpio. For those of you who don't know anything about astrology, I'm about to explain it so that doesn't sound like gibberish to you. But it's important that I do this live today. And I'm with my Facebook community at the moment. I still need to go live on YouTube. I'm trying to space out my content everywhere, so it's not only in one place. And some people miss my content. Some people are on Facebook and don't actually know that I'm on YouTube. So if you're one of those people, make sure that you subscribe to True Self Project after this live. Don't get off now. But make a note and remember to go over to True Self Project on YouTube, where you can find a lot more of my content. Now, what we're talking about today. First of all, let me know how you guys are feeling. How are you guys taking this energy? Are you feeling pumped? Are you feeling like, oh my gosh, I don't know what the frick's happening right now? I feel really dark, really just under a blanket, under the weather type thing. Let me know how you're feeling in the comments below. But yeah, we've got a lot of big energies that are playing up with us at the moment, and it's going to lead us into the new year. We've still got the big conjunction that will be taking place next month as well, and it's going to add to this mix. But I'm going to do my best to kind of give you an idea of what this energy means going forward. Now, the energy is getting very dark, and for those of you who follow my content, I'm not afraid of the dark. And you need to ask yourself whether you are afraid of your dark. Alyssa says, I'm feeling a mix of things. I feel highs and I feel low lows. Yeah, it's interesting because we've got a lot of direct energy going on right now, and things have been slowed down for the last few months and just going in a bit of a chaotic turn. So now energies are going direct, and even myself, I'm feeling a lot of things progressing forward. But I'm also finding the transformational aspect of what's been taking place the last few months. I've been going through a very interesting shedding process, everything from my beliefs to my own personal programs that I didn't even realize were still there. And a lot of the things that I didn't think I thought I had addressed but hadn't actually fully addressed. So this time has been really plunging me into the depths, but especially with and we're going to talk about the dark night of the soul and fear and stuff like that. And those of you who know my personal experience, I went through my own personal dark night of the soul, well, massive dark night of the soul that nearly took my life back in 2017. And that really made me face my fears in a crazy way where I didn't have the choice. Oftentimes, if you're put in a situation where you're having to face your fears, would think, oh yeah, I'll stand up to the challenge, but you're facing your fears. A lot of us would probably run away because we'd rather be comfortable. We'll rather be in a comfortable place where we don't have to be either triggered or feel like we have to step out of our comfort zones. Because if you're facing your fears, you're having to do something that is very uncomfortable. So this is what this energy is bringing to the surface, and I've mentioned about this whole energy of breaking down and breaking through. This is essentially your choice. You can choose whether this is a breakthrough process for you, because we're all going through this intensive chaotic energy that's bringing crisis. We're all in a collective crisis, but we're all in personal individual crises that we're having to learn how to navigate at the same time. One of the things that's really been highlighted in this season, especially as we had this Mercury retrograde that was taking place, it started out in Scorpio and it retrograded back into Libra, and went direct in Libra as well. So there's been a lot of highlight on relationship. There's been a lot of highlights on relationships, and what I find with a lot of Libra energies is that it's it can maintain a line or maintain a veil, so to speak, especially as the solstice point of Libra is Pisces. So there's that Piscean energy that's playing out into this energy. But what I find is that there's this fear to this is where the whole word of codependency, that phrase, what that keyword comes up with, codependency, because a Libra would maintain their space. And it not only just, this works out in loads of different ways. I'm not just talking about a Libra sun or whatever. I'm just talking about the energy of Libra as an archetype. It can stay in situations just to remain comfortable, just that it doesn't disturb the peace. I just want to keep everything harmonious. I'm not really going to say what I actually feel, but let me just keep everything cool, keep everything as it needs to be, so that I can remain comfortable and other people can remain comfortable. However, that can be a very damaging thing, because not only are you directly putting a block to yourself, you're also putting a block to what potentially needs to be experienced. You don't know what speaking up or stepping out would actually do for you or do for someone else. And this is what this energy is really bringing to the surface, because I've been talking about in the Realms Academy, we've been having conversations about power struggles, and especially with all of this Scorpio energy that we're in. Power is one of the big keywords that aligns with Scorpio, but what we don't often talk about is the management of power, and also the dual perspectives of power, or dual expressions of power, because power itself can feel power itself is not good or bad. It's just a source. However, the person who's utilizing this source of power can transmute that into either something good or bad, depending on how you perceive that. And I found that when I was asking people the question about how do you identify power, it's quite interesting how people were answering those questions. I heard people say power is a sense of dominance, power is a sense of influence, and then other people were saying power is a sense of being one with yourself to be able to enact your will. And I thought, that's quite interesting. And I was just noticing how everyone was identifying and how they see and how they perceive their sense of power. And what it was showing to me, it was quite interesting, because you get to see the psychology of that person. You get to see whether they are, they either stand up to their power, they actually utilize their power in practical ways or in practical senses, or if they actually cheat themselves out of actually utilizing their power. And going back into the whole situation of, you know, fear and facing your fears, and putting yourself in situations where you have to face your fears, that in itself is you standing up to your power. And in this time where everything is going to test your sense of control, it's going to test your sense of control, because the emotions is a very messy place, and it being in the sign of Scorpio, especially with this new moon coming up, it's going to bring up a lot of piercing memories. It's going to bring up a lot of things from the past, piercing memories from the past. It's going to bring up a lot of haunting things that have been haunting us for a long time. Those skeletons in the closet, those monsters under the bed that nobody knows about, only we know. We know that it's there, but no one else knows that it's there. This is what the light's going to be shone on in this time. And it's going to be asking us, are we going to kill ourselves to maintain that door? Some of us are literally like, no, don't come out, no, stay there, like killing yourself. Your muscles are literally burning trying to keep that door shut. And going on to the point of shadows, because these things, for example, I'm gonna put this in a practical example, especially if we're talking about Scorpio. Scorpio is a very, very sexual energy. It's very confidently sexual. That's another sense of someone embodying their power. However, because of how society has depicted sexuality and how things have been, when a woman starts to express herself, starts to show a bit of cleavage, and she hasn't done that before, people are like, oh, what's going on here? And you start to feel a bit, oh, I shouldn't be doing that. Even I've shared in my own personal experiences how it's taken me a very long time to be comfortable in my own sexual experiences with my own partner, and without thinking, oh my gosh, he's going to think I'm this, oh my gosh, I'm going to think I'm that. It's like, where are these things coming from? So in regards to your expressions and how that even becomes part of your shadow, you're pushing back this part of yourself. Like, no, I'm going to be this conservative, you know, even though I really want to express myself, and I'm deliberately holding myself back. I can't work out why I'm not attracting the types of experiences that I truly want, because you're not actually being fully authentic with yourself. And for you to be authentic, you have to be able to learn to own your shadow. Own and integrate your shadow, not shut it away. This is a part of you that is yearning to exist. So sometimes this can bring up a sense of fear. You know, oh my gosh, when I do this, what's actually going to be released? It's the fear of the unknown. We don't know what's on the other side. And again, we want to be able to control how situations take place. We want to stay prepared. We want to know if something potentially is going to happen in the future, so that we can make sure that we're like this and this, so it doesn't hurt as bad. And that in itself can limit some of your experiences. Just trying to be so controlling. We're just meant to just experience, right? Just learn to experience without judgment. Learn to experience without expectations. Your experience is teaching you so much. And just learn to be one in that. There was something else that was coming to me that literally just slipped my whole mind. Again, typical Gemini, 10 million thoughts. Erica says, thanks for sharing. You're welcome, my lovely. So the key is to begin to ask yourself, what are you actually afraid of? What are you afraid of? And what are you willing to do to get rid of that fear? Because I'm telling you, the only thing that you can do is face it. The only way out is through. And this time, well, where the new moon is in Scorpio, it's not even only just through, it's going in. So we're having to go in and through. And this is going to feel very uncomfortable for some people, especially for those of you that are very extroverted and are very used to, having things outside of yourself that can distract you and take you away from yourself. This is going to feel very, very uncomfortable, because it's going to be a very deep revealing and awakening to yourself that you've never allowed yourself to experience. And it's not to turn a blind eye and be like, oh my gosh, this is going to be painful. Embrace it. Like, actually, you can never truly step into the full embodiment of your power until you actually face what you're capable of. What is your actual potential? Even I shared this earlier with a reading I was having, and I was speaking about anger. And I noticed that I wouldn't allow myself to get angry because I was scared of how far it would go. Listen, when I get mangry, I get like a man, because I ain't going nowhere. I ain't backing down. Like, we gotta. This is all got to steam off. I'm a Mars in Aries. Like, I got to steam off before anything can calm down. Until I'm ready, I will calm down when I'm ready. Okay, that's my type of energy. And sometimes I'm scared of that because I don't know how far that will go, and this is where it becomes a block. I don't know how far it will go, but then even in blocking myself to that, I'm not allowing I'm cheating myself of my own power management, number one, because not only should I be able to manage myself, I should be able to know what that side of myself actually feels like at the same time. This is also an experience. I need to know what that side is so I know what I'm dealing with, and I can know how best to channel this energy in the healthiest of ways. So it's not that that part of yourself is bad. No, when that side needs to be awakened, it will be awakened, and I will be able to defend myself. But I need to teach myself, okay, you don't do it in this situation because, that's a trigger for that. And that's rooted to that, and that's not what that person's trying to do. They're just they're mirroring. And this is another thing that this is bringing up. Scorpio is ruled by a water sign. So this water energy is very reflective. So the same things that you're getting frustrated with other people, there's a lot of arguments and stuff coming up. Start to look at yourself. That's the very same things that you're maybe not doing, the same things that you may be judgmental to other people and start going after them and be like, why not this, why not that? Actually start asking your question, do you actually do that to the same expectation and standard that you expect to do that too? Oftentimes we don't, and we have to allow ourselves to be real with ourselves with that. You coined a new word, mangry. Yeah. Mangry. I'm mangry. Freudian slips right there. So yeah, ask yourself, what are you afraid of? I've put here, you guys can actually go back to my website. I've put up a blog on the new moon in Scorpio going more in depth. But I put here, where did it just go? Ooh. Where did it just go? Yes. Ask yourself, what are you actually afraid of? Oftentimes it's the fear of the unknown. We don't know what our response will be once we finally let loose. Will I lose all control, or will I be able to be in control? And this in itself is revealing and exposing our own control freak tendencies as well. This need to have control. Why can't, and this is what the other side of the chaos is. Scorpio is chaos. And sometimes we have to that chaos is creation. It's learning to turn your perspective to things, like especially with we've just come out of this Mercury retrograde. It's gone direct, and Mars has also gone direct. So this is these very drastic perspective shifts that are starting to sit in place right now. So what are we willing to do? I put here, the key is to adjust your perspective, your perception to control and power. Oftentimes we can feel powerless to these spooky shadows, but it's because we're actually giving our power away to the darkness, as opposed to accepting and embracing our darkness without judgment. Your darkness is being reflected in the same people around you. It's important to not disassociate from what is actually you. Your seventh house is your house of relationships and the people that you relate with, right? Your seventh house is your mirror. For you to understand yourself, you have to understand what's being projected in front of you. So we need to learn to integrate this dual perspective that's going on, especially with this North Node in Gemini, where we can not only see the left and the right side, but inside and out. And that's the key of the Da Vinci Code. It's about as above, so below, as within, so without. There's projections everywhere, and it's these influences everywhere, and we have to learn to be able to manage and take control of that. So back onto this thing of fear. In fact, let me pull up the scripture, because this is the scripture that came up for me, and it was Psalms 23. And no, for anyone who's here, no, we're not Christians out here, we're metaphysicians, and we learn to break down metaphysical texts, and that's exactly what that is. Alyssa says, I have so much in my seventh house: Sun, Venus, Mercury, and Mars. Oh, that's all your personal planets, so you're definitely going to feel that very much. You're going to feel that even stronger. Right, so it goes, hold on, where's the rest of this scripture? Right, so it goes, the Lord is my shepherd. No, wait, hold on. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Now, this is not an external thing. This is actually you. This is Psalms 23. So this is saying, though I walk through the valley, this initiation, this world that feels very new, because whenever a valley is like a transition to somewhere else. Yeah, Psalms 23. Valley of the shadow of death. So this shadow, and let me see if I've shown this to the Inner Realms Academy already know this image already. But the shadows are not real, just like fear is not real. Plato's cave. Shadows are not real, just like fear is not real. Fear is false evidence appearing real. Here we go. Here's the image. Let me turn you around. Show you this image. You see this image right here? You see that there? Let me put it back a bit. This is a shadow projection. It's not even real. It's not real. Oh, wow. You seen all of these interesting... Sorry, the colours just look really interesting now. In fact, let me flip this back. Let me flip this back. This is not real. These are not real. These are projections of our subconscious mind. These are projections of imprints that have come through karmically, both in past timelines and this timeline. Personal experiences that you've experienced. You know, you actually hold residue from traumas that you've experienced, and that in itself can shape your perspective of life. So we're having to completely change our if you want change. What was I saying before? I was in a little vibe in a song before I came in here. no, it was a mantra that, or affirmation that just naturally came through. But it was like, if change can only happen once you step into the position of change, because we can always be expecting change. Oh, change, please come, change, please come. But then we're afraid of change, because change means that you have to do something different. Change means that you have to step out of a comfort zone, because that means that a pattern is being broken. That means a pattern is being interrupted. That's what we don't like to address. Even with regards to breaking generational curses, you don't need to go to someone to pay them to break a curse off of your generation, unless someone has specifically placed a curse. A lot of the things that we're experiencing are not generational curses. They're generational influences. And nobody's taking accountability for the influences that are coming through. They're continuing the same cycle over and over again, not speaking about some of the experiences they may experience psychologically, because, oh my gosh, someone may say I'm crazy, but these are actually spiritual experiences. I've been seeing the amount of videos I've been seeing coming out of just random people talking about they're having these crazy psychotic experiences. Some people are having these crazy psychotic experiences, but some people are having these great awakenings that are disguised as psychotic experiences. And I've mentioned this before, your first initiation to self is going to be through the mind, because you're going to have to learn how to navigate your own psychosis. And you're going to have to navigate when something is real, or distinguish what is real from what isn't real. And essentially nothing is real. And that's where everything just gets a bit more crazy. But we'll talk about that another day. And I put here, shadows are a funny thing, as they often have a thing to make something appear more fearful than they actually are. I remember as a child, I always used to be afraid every time the lights would go out, that my teddy bears across the room were snakes hiding in the dark. My mind attached illusions to the fear I was experiencing. There was no snakes, and my fears was fueling this illusion that never existed. And that's what happens. That's what often happens with us and our shadow, until we turn on the light for some intelligence to let us know that this fear is false evidence appearing real. You can go back and read this back on my blog, on my website, www.trueselfproject.co.uk. It's false evidence appearing real. It doesn't exist. We're giving our power away. So back to this time, when you begin to really deep all of these simple little concepts and principles, you'll never have to deal with fear ever again, because you realize it's not real. It's not real. So all of these little fear-mongering tactics that's starting to come with in the world with this whole pandemic and the vaccines and all that kind of stuff, you'll be able to say, fuck it, like, it's not real. I've already on one of my posts, I've already said to you guys, there's like 15% of the UK population alone that's not going to take it. How is this going to happen? Stop creating narratives, because you'll end up, oh my gosh, that just came through for me. Wow. Some of us don't even realizing that we're actually engaging in the rituals of these other people. So when we start talking about, oh my gosh, they're going to start oppressing us, they're going to start vaccinating everyone and mandatory this, what's going to happen, all of this fear, you're fueling their manifestation process, because the stuff that they're doing is not going to work anyway. Thank you so much, Erica, for putting down the link there. So yeah, you guys can just click that link. It's not real. It's not real. Fear-mongering tactics. They're trying to play games with your psyche. And until you learn how to be able to manage your own psyche and learn how not to be triggered by the bullshit outside of you, imagine, look at these politics stuff playing out. I've said this is two gangs. Look at it like two gangs. It's basically the Bloods and the Crips, Republican Democrats, and they've now got They've managed to recruit their members through their little political campaigns, and we're fighting their battles. We're fighting their battles. We're fighting their wars that ain't got nothing to do with us. Learn how to take control back. Learn how to take control of your power. Because these people are literally harvesting your energy, and we're allowing it to happen. So, what else did I put here? Have you exerted too much power, or have you not stepped into your power enough? It's time for you to honestly answer that question. You are the ultimate creators and manifestors of your reality. And a Scorpio energy is going to highlight the energy of death and rebirth, where something more powerful is being conjured from the ashes. Conjured. I use that word for a reason, right? This is Scorpio energy. This is the occult, right? Something is being conjured, right? And Scorpio also is the psyche. It's almost like, and I want to be very careful of how I say this because we're still on Facebook. It's just like the same. You have to be very careful with some of these psychics and some of these quote unquote psychologists. I've already experienced this. I've already said how some of these psychologists, anyone dealing with the psyche field, some of them are straight up sorcerers, and some of them know how to be able to conjure, just like Get Out, right? That was conjuring. She was conjuring. Still hypnosis. They're conjuring a part of yourself that's been unconscious for a very long time. I'm always cautious of what I say on Facebook too. Yeah, I have to be very careful because my business is not on here, so I ain't got time to be losing my Facebook profile in that. I ain't got time for that. But yeah, there's a whole load of conjuring that's happening. Something that's from something that's already died. Just like they're trying to conjure up racism again. False prophets, yeah, definitely. Just like they're trying to conjure up all of these old things. It's almost like we're back in the 80s again. Even Instagram I'm still very selective of because it's still owned by Facebook. That's why I'm more free on my Patreon, on my Inner Realms Academy, and my little MeWe group. MeWe ain't attached to anything, so we can be free in our conversations and not feel any way about that. And that's why I've set up my platforms that way. So, you know, we can navigate the censorship until it gets knocked down altogether. Which is quite interesting because we're seeing Candace Owens already start to put in some stuff to sue the fact checkers and stuff like that. So that's going to be quite interesting as Saturn goes into Aquarius, and we start to be reminded that freedom is not given, it's taken. Do I use sidereal astrology? No, I'm also a tropical astrologer. However, I'm not one of those astrologers that like to discount and be like, oh, only tropical, oh, only sidereal, oh, only 13 signs. I like to integrate all of, sorry. I like to integrate all of the different methods, and especially with sidereal, like for example, I'm a Gemini, but I still have a lot of Taurian traits. It doesn't mean to say that I'm a Taurus, it just means to say that I'm a Gemini. That's like for example, if you leave from one room and go into the next, your energy is still going to be in that room. You're carrying over your energy over. So yeah, I like to be able to integrate all of those perspectives. Oh snap, thank you for enlightening me on that. You're welcome, my lovely. So yeah, there's a lot happening right now. Alyssa says I lean more towards integrating all methods as well. Yes, that's what I love. I'm a Gemini. I love to be able to merge. Even in my practice, I have so many different perspectives and angles and modalities and methods that I can use, because one way is not going to fit for everything. Oh, 333. I should get myself a little thingy so that anytime there's any little synchronicities that come up, I can just be like, do one little dance and just tap into the intention of that moment. um, so yeah, essentially it's time to be paying more attention to how you perceive power. Alyssa says, Gemini T, we are both Sun in Gemini and Scorpio, right? Yo, what house is your Gemini? What house is your Gemini Sun as well? Gemini with Scorpio, I love it because no one can have that level of deep thought and deep you can see every side, right? You're not getting trapped because you can allow yourself to flow. I love Geminis for this very reason. This is why I love Geminis. This is why Gemini becomes the victim of the whole zodiac. Everyone wants to come after Gemini, right? But listen, don't sleep on Gemini. Let me break this down. I've broke this down for my inner realms before. Gemini would be representative of the evolved mind of humanity. The evolved mind of humanity, right? So we have Aries. This is the primal beginnings, the reptilian brain, and you move on to Taurus, which creates the form, the body. Then you move on to Gemini, which forms the mind, right? Gemini is what is able to create that rational, that the rational, or not just be triggered by what you feel, by your senses, but you're actually able to rationalize your senses. You're not lost in your senses. You're not lost in and those of you that have I really advise you guys to get my Triune Brain webinar. I've got it on sale right now, like the movie Gemini Man. In fact, let me write that down because that's going to be another movie that we break down. In the Inner Realms Academy, we have watch parties. Gemini Man. We have watch parties where we break down different movies and we connect it to different things with regards to the mind, different metaphysical concepts and stuff. Oh, you just like me. Oh no, you've got your sun in your first house. Okay, I've got my sun in my 8th house, and you got it on your first. So that's probably why we have a very interesting connection right there. Very similar energies. But yeah. What was I saying now? Yeah, I saw it a few months ago, but I've been meaning to see it again so that I can do a full little breakdown of that. Gemini's in my 8th house. Ooh, and Scorpio rules my first. Also, Scorpio rising as well. Listen, we're turning up. And 12th house. Okay, so you've got it intercepted there with Aries sun in the 5th. I have felt extremely introspective. Interesting, especially as a yeah, you're definitely gonna feel that now. My sun is in the 8th. Okay, no, we're exactly the same then. So you got sun in the 8th. I've got my 8th house sun as well. That's very interesting. Why didn't I mention Gemini Man again? But yeah, we're gonna add that to the list of movies that, in fact, there was another movie that I watched last night with my partner that's called Watchmen. Whoo! You guys go and find that on Netflix, because that one's a whole thing, and that in itself is dealing with Gemini as well, and that whole intelligence, and more so the AI aspect that the AI aspect that can come into that, because man, there's so much to that movie. It's almost like I feel like a part of that movie was trolling the whole conscious community. Because this person became so detached, they literally became a full-ass intelligent mind, like very smart mind, very mercurial, but they became trapped in their mind. And this is the balance that Gemini has to learn, not to get trapped in the mind, to know that there's still life happening outside of them, and they need to be able to connect with people in real time at the same time. Yeah, definitely check it out. Erica says tropical astrology, sun astrology, sidereal, moon astrology. That's a, yeah. I like the way that sits. Tropical would be more sun, because it's more physical. Sigil is more kind of karmic. I can kind of see that, and understanding the path that you've traveled as well. Yeah, that's quite interesting. So yeah, this time is power up time, and I'm challenging you to really step into the unknown, step into the uncomfortable, and see where this takes you without having any expectations, without trying to box it off, without trying to control the process. But just allow this energy to just take you where it needs to be. Notice the impulses that are coming up in this time. What are the things that you're being urged to do? Because Mars has just gone direct, so there's a lot of primal urges that are happening there as well. Pay attention to that, and begin to step into it. See it like you're stepping into, or you're creating momentum for and I'm literally, as I'm talking this, I'm seeing something at the moment, because I'm literally seeing like someone stepping over into a completely different parallel. So you're not even on this parallel of this destructive timeline anymore. The stuff that people are talking about with regards to the pandemic and stuff, they won't even matter. They'll be relevant for you anymore, because you stepped into a completely different reality altogether. This is how reality is going to split. And it's going to be weird, because people are going to be like, oh my gosh, how can you not be so scared? Why are you not concerned? Bitch, I'm on my own timeline. See you later. Are you going to join me, or are you just going to continue to... Remember I said this 3D, the 3D realm, the 4D realm is crashed. Get to 5D or get left. That's how real it is. And from that fifth dimensional space, this is where we're able to create. This is where we're able to create something completely new, completely different. It's either you join me or be mad at me. Hate on what? I rose to the challenge. Are you going to raise to the challenge? Listen, in this time, you can't get mad at no one, because this is literally based on what you do. I mentioned in my last video, and I really encourage you guys to go to my YouTube page and check out the last video that I uploaded, because I dropped a whole prophetic word in that video, and I don't think a lot of people caught it. Definitely go check that back out. But there are... you can't get mad at anyone, because this year was, you had to be working on something. You had to be working hard on something. It didn't have to mean that you had to be working on a business or working on a project. Was you working on yourself? Was you working on your mind? Was you working on, balancing out certain aspects of your life? Was you working on organizing yourself? Was you working on allowing your home to become a bit more of a comfortable space so that you can work? What was you working on? Because next year it's time to really to jet off. This year was like a beta test. Next year is like, we're going. So anyone who's jumping on rockets next year, you can't get mad at them, because we all had the same opportunity to utilize the opportunities we had at our hand. We had the internet, right? There's especially I'm going to speak now to those that have that are they know that they're meant to be moving into a more creating their own businesses and becoming more self-employed. Like, there's people that know this is where I'm supposed to be, but there's the fear of, oh my gosh, what if? And this is why I was pushed to the edge to where I didn't even have a what if to say. When the universe pushed me into creating my business, it was like, you have no other choice. You have no other choice, because, and this is another thing that I used to do. I used to run away from the things that I knew I should be doing, not only because of imposter syndrome, Literally, I'm seeing everyone else is being able to fit better in that position than I am. But also the fear of success. How the fuck does that make sense? Being fearful of success, being fearful of actually when you get to the spotlight and it actually works out, and everyone's got your name in your mouth. What about that? Like, that's the kind of shit I'm scared of. Like, what the fuck? And I myself had to talk myself in the mirror and be like, bitch, wake up. Like, fix yourself up. What are you doing here? I'm sure this is what you wanted all your time, but now you get it and you're like, what? I don't want it anymore. Like, really? We heard sometimes you just need to check yourself. Because we're wrecking ourselves. We're self-destructing ourselves. Ego. It's crazy. And even with the ego as well. The ego is a very dual thing, because I mean there's been a lot of demonization on the ego. You know, kill your ego. I'd never advise anyone to kill your ego, because without your ego, you will not be stepping out of your house to be washing your skin and combing your hair and putting deodorant under your armpits, because that's what gives you a sense of self-worth. That's what makes you realize, actually, I do need to carry myself a presentable way so that, you know, I'm not like, people can't smell my odor from behind there. Like, that's what your ego does do, right? Some of us have a hyperactive ego, so where that literally just goes into a completely different place. But we do need to have a healthy sense of ego. You need to be able to celebrate yourself and, you know, be like, you know what, I'm great. You know what, I am powerful. And this is the next thing that I want to be moving on to, because I'm actually writing something right now, and it should be out within the next few weeks. But I'm really digging into this whole thing about power struggles and power identifications, because what I do find, and I really base this on this whole thing of the rise of awareness of narcissism and stuff like that. And everyone now apparently can identify a narcissist. I think there's a very clear distinction that needs to be placed publicly with practitioners, mental health, whatever, that you can't just go around labeling people narcissists and with narcissistic personality disorder. It's a very, very strategic thing. Not everyone has narcissistic personality disorder. All of us have narcissistic tendencies, but not everyone has narcissistic personality disorder. To have narcissistic personality disorder, it has to physically impair certain elements of your life. It doesn't mean to say that you go at that. Because this is the thing, some people are dickheads, right? And some people have a right to be a dickhead. That's their life. You don't have to deal with it, or you can continue to battle with it and try to change them, which is another thing that empaths like to do. You know, like, I want to change this person so that they can be more like me. Like, get out of yourself and stop sucking your own ass. Allow people to be how they need to be. If that doesn't resonate with you, then see you later. There's many other people that you can connect with, but stop trying to expect everyone to be your exact parallel. Like, we have diversity for a reason. We have individuality for a reason. We have freedom of speech for a reason. And we talk about freedom of speech, but we don't actually respect it in real time. Because when someone wants to be able to say their own opinion and what they really feel about their perspective of reality, here comes any little Joe about, oh, you can't say that. Oh, that's very disrespectful. And how can you not be sensitive to people? And and I'm being really condescending on purpose, because it really irritates me, and I'm not going to hide the fact that shit doesn't irritate me. But that shit is real. And there's a lot of justification for, you know, why people should be sensitive and why people shouldn't stand in their power. There's a lot more justifications for us being a victim, as opposed to actually learning how to overcome situations in real time. I was done. When I say done, I mean like proper suicide drop, yeah? When I was seeing on articles talking about they're going to make misogyny. Is it misogyny? Was it misogyny? I think it was something like that, something along those lines. But they're going to make misogyny a hate crime. That's where I was done. I was like, take me off of this earth. I'm done. I'm done. What do you mean you're going to make misogyny a hate crime? So because somebody else has a different perspective and may wants to, like, however you want to perceive misogyny, that's that person, right? But now you're making it a hate, you're making it a crime for someone else to be a dickhead. Like, let's not bring law and justice and stuff into how people just are. Like, I feel like that's a very dangerous, it's a very dangerous space to be in. And this is, again, being trumped by all of these feminists. And you know how I feel about that. That's another story. But yeah, we really need to question how we identify power. Is power to you being able to dominate someone else? And even... And when I drop this Saturn in Aquarius... when I drop this Saturn in Aquarius content, that's gonna open it up even more, because there's something about Aquarius that I notice that is, again, something that is not really highlighted. Yes, Aquarius can equate to the energy of freedom, or also standing up for your freedom. But there's also that dictatorship energy that comes along with Aquarius. Aquarius is co-ruled by Saturn. So what we don't see is this co-dictatorship. So even within the communities, you know, we've got people dictating to each other. You've got people dictating whether or not you're black or not, whether you align to their political views. Identity politics is taking over, and that in itself is going to be the nuclear war for society. Because again, it's fueling off something that is based on someone's ideology or personal ideology or perception of their reality that isn't actually based on anything factual. Because race, what is race? Race was something that was created in the 1600s. That's not something ancient. If you want to talk about bloodlines and species, hey, we can talk. But race, I'm kind of confused as to how this is, again, it's someone's idea. It's someone's idea that they created and they created, look, colorism got created from race. Jim Crow laws got created from race. The whole slavery thing got created from race. But that in itself doesn't really give you a whole holistic perspective of reality and really who people are. And if you want to understand a bit more about what I mean about that, I've done more stuff on my Patreon stuff about that. Especially the last video that I did. I don't want to talk too much about that on Facebook, because Facebook gets very sensitive and doesn't know how to be able to have a conversation objectively and rationally, and I don't have time for that today. But it's time to grab your own mind. It's time to start seeing the way that you want to see the world and not how people want you to see the world because it benefits their own political agendas. That's sovereignty. That's true sovereignty. So I challenge you guys. I gave you a few challenges in this video, and I challenge you to actually raise to the challenge. I challenge you to actually really take a deep look at your fears and what you are willing to do to overcome them. What are you willing to do? What is it willing to take? So I'm gonna jet off. My partner will be back soon, so we can spend some time together. If you guys have any questions before I leave, drop it in the comments below. But remember, I have the astrology 101 class that will be starting at the end of this month, 28th of November, in the Inner Realms Academy. If you want to be able to purchase the webinars individually, you can do. Again, you can just go straight to my website, www.trueselfproject.co.uk. And we have the shadow clinic, shadow surgery clinic. That's something that's going to take us a bit deeper into the whole shadow, the whole power embodiment and power management. I've got some booklets for you guys that I will be giving in there as well, and we'll also be talking about the whole power management. I'm thinking to actually drop that before, but there's something I want to drop. I'm not sure whether I'm going to drop it on Patreon or drop it publicly. I'm still making a decision on that. But yeah, the shadow surgery clinic, there's a lot of stuff that we're going to be going into that will practically deal with all of the things I've spoken about today and more. And you can find out more information on that on the website, again, trueselfproject.co.uk. Make sure that you're signed up to the YouTube, so that you can catch some more content from me. Make sure that you guys also subscribe to the website. So there's an app on my website, and I can keep you guys directly updated through that app. If you guys sign up, and all of the blogs that I upload, you'll be able to be directly notified of that. As if you guys have noticed, I've been utilizing more of my blogs a bit more recently, so there may be random blogs that will be going up there, because I'm trying not to be doing this long ass Facebook post stuff anymore. Most of them can be blogs. And at least I can keep them there and you guys can go back to. So yeah, it's been awesome. I want to check out, and I'll see you guys on the other side.